When my daughter Kaylee came home from her final tour overseas, she wasn't the same. At 22, she had served in a high-conflict zone as a medic. One IED changed everything. Though her body healed, her mind carried invisible wounds, panic attacks, night terrors, and severe PTSD. She rarely left her room. Life became quiet, withdrawn. That changed the day she met Shadow, a 2-year-old black German shepherd with deep amber eyes and a calm presence that seemed to know exactly when to lean into her side. Shadow was a fully certified PTSD service dog, trained to interrupt anxiety spirals, wake Kaylee from night terrors, and keep crowds at bay in public. With Shadow, Kaylee began to live again. But then came Karen. Karen was the president of the HOA in our tightly regulated community. A woman in her late 60s with pearl earrings, a manicured lawn, and a rule book in hand like a sheriff in a Wild West town no one asked for. The first week she saw Shadow, "Oh, those breeds aren't allowed. I don't care if he's a service dog, he looks dangerous. PTSD isn't real disability anyway." Yes, she said that. I tried to be civil, gave her documentation, service dog credentials, a letter from the VA. She waved them off like I'd handed her restaurant coupons. We filed complaints, but the HOA board, her hand-picked loyalists, refused to act. Then one afternoon, I returned from a doctor's appointment to find Kaylee crying on the porch. Shadow was gone. "He's not in the backyard," she said, shaking. "His vest is on the ground." We ran to the side gate. The lock was busted. Someone had broken into our fenced yard. I checked the security camera feed, and my blood went cold. Karen. At 12:13 p.m., she entered our yard with a leash. Shadow, trained not to attack, sat calmly. She clipped the leash on, removed his vest, and walked off. She stole a federal service dog right out of our yard. Kaylee was spiraling into panic, her breathing shallow, knees buckling. I made one phone call. See, Karen didn't know I served too. I work with a federal K-9 operations task force, and we don't play games with service animals or veterans. Within 3 minutes, a joint SWAT K-9 recovery unit was en route. At 12:27 p.m., 4 black SUVs pulled into the neighborhood. Tactical officers spread fast. Snipers stationed discreetly. Body cams on. Karen's home was surrounded. She didn't come out at first, but when the negotiator calmly stated, "Ma'am, this is a federal issue. You are harboring a stolen service animal. This house is now under tactical hold," she screamed from behind the door. "It's just a dog. He scared me. I was protecting the community." Minutes later, officers entered the home. They found Shadow in a locked laundry room, visibly shaken but unharmed. No food, no water, vest stuffed under a pile of towels. Karen was arrested on the spot. Charges: grand theft, federal service animal, trespassing and property damage, interference with a disabled individual's medical equipment. Service dogs are considered medical aids under federal law. Cruelty to animals, unlawful detainment of a support animal. And here's the kicker. Because Shadow was registered with the VA as medical support for a combat veteran, Karen was now facing federal time. Her face went ghost white as the cuffs went on. The story made the news. The community was outraged. Neighbors who once stayed quiet came forward. She'd threatened therapy animals, harassed disabled children, even tried to force one family to relocate because their child had Down syndrome. The HOA board disbanded within the week. Karen lost everything. But more importantly, Kaylee got Shadow back. When they were reunited, Shadow immediately laid his head on her lap and nuzzled her trembling hands. She hadn't spoken a full sentence in hours, but then whispered, "I knew you'd come home." Shadow didn't just calm her anxiety. He brought her back to life. Karen thought she could treat him like an ordinary pet. She didn't know what Shadow meant. To my daughter, to me, to every veteran who came home broken. She didn't know who she was messing with. Now she does, and she won't forget it.